2026 to 2026. We appreciate everybody being here, full house. While I've got your attention, would you please make sure your phones are on silent and I make so we do not interrupt it during this meeting, if you appreciate it. With that, I'll get to work. We have a forum, and I'd like to ask Mr. Stan Donaldson to give the invocation to the rise.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you, Father, for another opportunity to serve the citizens of Montgomery. We thank you, Father, that free speech is still alive in Montgomery and in this state and in this country. We thank you, Lord, that you're watching over our soldiers, Father, and they do their due diligence, Father, in the areas they're assigned to. We thank you, watch over them, keep them safe, and guard them in all their ways. And we ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, pledge allegiance to the United States flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On the Texas flag.
On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, and I have received 7 requests for comments. All right, the first one is, figuring early, make sure I was first, so I will go first. I'm before you tonight not to make excuses, but to tell you the truth, because you deserve nothing less. There have been confusion, and I understand frustration among many of you regarding the street that is planned south of the Nat Hart Davis Museum. I want to be clear and on the record and in front of every single one of you and this community. The planning of that street was a staff-level decision in 2022. Assistant Administrator David Corkadell was heading that up along with the EDC. It was not directed, approved, or initiated by the mayor or this council or even Mr. Walker, our city administrator. There was a plan developed and advanced by staff at the time, and I want every resident of Montgomery to know that distinction. The current administration is moving forward on downtown improvements and found the plans left by the previous administration. Now, I must speak carefully with great reverence here, and it's not simply a matter of traffic or infrastructure. Our community knows through both written record and oral history passed down through generations that this site holds a deep and solemn significance. We plan to honor that. The lilies matter, the children resting here matter, the story matters, and this city's response to that story matters. I hear you, we hear you. With that, I did some research, and on August 15th, 2022, the EDC meeting, I have it here, and I've got the full entire agenda if you would like, but it's discussed that the EDC paid more archaeological consulting to go look at that site prior to making the plans. Rebecca has said Ms. Adams sent her a note stating she felt the tree was actually in the middle of FM 149, not the tree on that property, as opposed to the property, and they were purchasing based on the favorable documents. Carol Langley asked if this report would take care of EDC and the city doing their job to make sure there were no graves. Rebecca has said yes, she believes so. Rebecca said Virginia Adams also sent her a notarized document stating that a baby be removed from her cemetery plat at her expense in the unlikely event that any 168-year-old remains were found. Anyway, it goes on to state that the EDC had done quite a bit of due diligence and backstory. Because of Mr. Walker coming into the city, picking up where others had left behind, he was running with this. It was not anything behind anybody's back. It wasn't anything nefarious. It truly was, okay, we've got the calendar, we've got improvements to do, let's get it done. So thank you for actually doing some action and moving forward. But with that, the street has been scrapped. That's not going to happen. The lilies will be preserved, but maybe it's something, a monument around it. Thank you.
Secondly, number 2 would be Sarah Mabry, and she sent me a... it's written from a mother's graveyard by a great-great-granddaughter and namesake of Sarah Elizabeth White Davis. We were when our mother bore and buried us in her adopted land of the new state of Texas in the small village of Montgomery. We have rested for decades near the home of our parents and siblings who lived to find their feet in Montgomery, Texas, to marry and bear children of their own in this beautiful and tranquil part of the world. No bitterness we bear, for we know our life on this earth was brief, but not without cause or reason. God does not save all, but when he does, it is for a reason. We bear no malice toward the living and only ask that the living think of us as what we might have been. What our souls might be, what our souls have meant to ages past and present, and to what purpose we can serve the future. May we stay a little longer to serve and to give now to the city of Montgomery what we did not to survive to do decades ago. We want those in need of prayer, consolation, and comfort to come and sit a while, meditate, and find hope from the grief that befalls the human race. We are here to listen to your voices and wipe away tears, heal the hurt, and give solace to all. Our mother, if she could speak, would welcome you to her small and simple cottage where life of the Davis family went on. It always did, as life does. The labyrinth takes many twists and turns, so let us lie in peace to offer respite. A place of beauty, voices through the heuristic world of QR codes to give encouragement, lend ears, and hear the voices of the living. We ones, as we are, will not bewail the woes of illness and death, but we will speak truth. There is always hope. Sarah Ann. God works through modern man. I trust the Mayor, Sarah Frenchman, to follow his way as well as council. Most respectfully, Sarah Meeker.
All right, now number 2. Number 3, when I call your name, would you please come to the podium? Just as a reminder, we won't go back and forth. It's just we want to take your comments. We have 3 minutes. This is for Bob Peel at 165 Peel Fleet. Regarding the Davis cottage. Come on, Bill.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. I appreciate your time. Just a few moments. I've been advised last week, about 3 days ago, that the city had plans for the lot next to the Davis cottage. That was 3 days ago. I've also been advised that since then those plans have changed. But I've not seen it in writing. Their plans were to make a parking lot out of that lot, or use a majority of it for parking. I have concern with that project because it would amount to a lot of paving. And there's certain people buried in that area that are history. They're a part of Montgomery, an early part of Montgomery. I don't want anything to happen to their graves. It's a 3-year-old child and a child that was born, stillborn. And we're Davises. Descendants, one of the oldest child was a boy. He was named after his father, Ned Hart Davis. I'm sure most of you have heard that name. And he was 3 years old when he died. The other child didn't live to have a name. So it's an unnamed baby girl. I've since learned that, well, as of today, that a portion of that land has been set aside. If this is so, can someone confirm it to me?
Where the lilies are, we'll leave it undisturbed, because that's what you're talking about.
I'm talking about what area of the lilies. I don't care one for hell about the lilies. I'm concerned what's buried beside them. So what are you talking about?
That'll be undisturbed.
Yeah, we'll not disturb that. We're actually gonna improve the area on the surface and put a monument up to what you're describing.
Mr. Walker, I don't sound pessimistic, but can you give that to me in writing?
I can get the EDC. It's an EDC project, and they need to approve all projects. But yeah, we can show you what that project's going to look like.
Because some things in the past have been said were going to be done and didn't. That's all the information I needed is something has been planned for us. If not, I'd like to personally do something, but we'll see what happens. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you. Next up, Diane Lane. And Brenda Bevan's on deck.
I'm not going to read everything that I had written, but I am going to say this before I ever start. I appreciate so much you coming to this meeting. I don't appreciate the way you seem to blow him off with what he was saying. It's wrong. This means a lot to us, to this family that's been here longer than we have. My husband's family has been here since the 1860s or 70s. These babies mean a lot to us. I'm not even going to read what I had written. Our hope is that you take us serious enough, which I do think some people are doing that. We would like to save the area, and it is a known fact. It has been a known fact all of my life. We had Miss Bessie as a teacher, and she instilled in us the love of the Montgomery history. And that lady made me love our history. And I don't think I'm going to have to, but I wasn't going down without a fight on preserving the area for these babies. They are precious little souls that all we need to do is put a nice fence around that area and preserve that, and I think everybody will be happy. What I would love to see is for the Montgomery Historical Society and the city council people have a better working relationship where we communicate better and get on the same page with these types of things. We want to keep our little town. I know it's got to grow. That's not my point at all. But the history, we want it to stay preserved. These babies deserve it. The Davis family deserves it. And I'm not going to lie, I'm sure some of you drove by and saw my husband and I and some friends out there with our dowsing rods to see if it worked. And Ms. Fox and B. Rouse happened to be on the Davis Cottage steps talking. They walked over, they saw what we saw. Buddy walked up and down through that yard that was their front yard back in the day. And all of a sudden, the rods crossed. And it happened numerous times. He kept going back over, and the way that works, whether you believe it or not, and we went to the new cemetery. We used these rods for a long period of time just to make sure. And it says they operate by using the scientific principles of electromagnetism, generating an electric field when bones or bone fragments are located under the pressure of dirt. And you're not going to convince me otherwise. After what we've gone through and what we've had a lot of people see us do it. And I would just like to say my wish, my hope, my prayer is that we can all come together, fence the area for the babies, and be happy with what we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to say thank you. I wanted to thank you for listening and hearing what our I don't want to say complaints, but our our wishes are, and you did listen, and that meant a lot to us, okay? As a member of the Historical Society and wanting to work with all of you to preserve the small town feel, but also I like a lot of the changes you're making. It's not that I'm against anything being done, it's that the history part needs to be preserved. And you did listen, and I sincerely appreciate it. And thank you, Bob, for coming tonight.
Thank you.
That's what makes the difference.
Thank you for that. Kristen Beard.
And
Julie Dennison on deck.
Hi, I'm Kirsten.
Kirsten.
I'm sorry, yes, I'll get Kristen on, it's okay. I am here today on behalf of the History Task Force. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of us, but we do a lot of research, and we have 7 members with different skill sets. We do a lot of research in this area in Montgomery County, and actually we're doing some work in Walker County. So I just wanted to say, based on all our research and all the things that we have discovered over the years, the pioneer times were just, it was so harsh. It was so difficult to settle in a wilderness and establish your home, your food sources. Everything was so difficult. But these people persevered. And, they had a lack of medical care. We had a Dr. Henry Waters, who's very famous in today. He performed surgery at the Addison Dandy House. I don't know if any of y'all know what story I'm talking about, the Montgomery Miracle. And John Doe, James Addison, survived. Lived in 80, and he served in the military. So there's a lot of stories that we have here in this community. It has such historical significance to so many people. And we have their descendants living here. I was fortunate enough when my husband and I retired and moved out here, that when I started getting into the history, I discovered that we lived on Jacob Shannon's survey, which I had just found out about the Texas 300, the original 300, of which Jacob Shannon was one of them. So our survey still says Jacob Shannon, and we have had a LiDAR study done of our property, and there's something there. I personally haven't gone out and looked because it's in a 10-foot gully, and I don't need to break bones. So anyway, I just want to say thank you for preserving this very important part of our past that showed the struggle and the losses that these people endured, and they stayed, and they made it Montgomery. I love it here, and again, I am speaking on behalf of the History Task Force. I do have cards that I would like to pass out because we have a wonderful website with so many resources. We did digitize Bessie Owen, all her papers, and it's all available for free to look at. So we have, and plus we have 40,000 digitized documents from Montgomery County. The William Hardy Dandy papers, we have so much resources for people to look at and learn about what went on. The original documents, handwritten, you can read some of them, photos, all that. So that's part. And I would like to be considered as a resource or a contact for anything going on. I would like to be helpful to my community that I love so much.
thank you. All right, last up is Dennison.
This is a completely new subject.
I came here 6 weeks ago, as you're shaking your head, about the ditches that y'all done. Y'all have to see about getting them mowed, getting us help. Don's not able to mow them.
6 weeks, we haven't heard a word. What's going on?
I was still with him, I didn't hear the whole thing.
Oh, I was here 6 weeks ago and brought to the attention the ugly ditches they dug on Anna Springs. They ruined our front yard, okay? Y'all said y'all were gonna see about getting them mowed for us or getting us some help. I haven't heard a word. My question is, do I hire someone to mow them and bring y'all the bill?
No, don't do that. I'll work with Mike and we'll take a look at it. We were working on the engineering part of it. We haven't even looked at the mowing part of this yet because we wanted to look at what the options were with the sidewalks and all the other things that we're looking at. So that's what we're doing.
I mean, our grass is getting tall and his health, he can't get down with it.
Okay.
But
Sure.
do it.
Sure.
So then we're gonna have to pay someone to do it, so I thought maybe if y'all want the bill, I'll bring it to you.
We can take a look at it. I'll have Mike McElroy sitting over there. We'll take a look and see what we can do.
Okay, and you'll let us know?
Yes.
Okay, I'm at 114.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Next up on your agenda, presentation number 5. Presentation from Perdue, Brandon Fielder Collins, and Mott, LLP, on an update for collections.
Good evening. I'm Leslie Scotty with Perdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins, and Mott, the city's delinquent tax attorney. I'm here to give you an update on delinquent tax collections as well as fines and fees owed to the city. So as we go through the report, note that these are delinquent taxes only. Your residents do a fabulous job of paying their taxes. So I'm not saying your residents aren't paying. The county tax office is collecting over 95% of the tax levy every year. We're getting less than 5% of the roll in delinquents every year turned over to us for collection. And when you contract with a delinquent tax collection firm, we get paid what's called a collection penalty. So after the taxes become delinquent on February 1 and remain delinquent on July 1st, the taxpayer will receive what's called a 3307 notice that provides due process and procedure to the taxpayer to put them on notice that the taxes are still delinquent on July 1, the collection penalty will attach, it becomes part of the tax lien, and it is from collection of those taxes that we receive reimbursement for our collection activity. So that fee is passed on to the taxpayer once and only if that 3307 notice is sent to the taxpayer. Put them on notice and make them aware. So, first chart we have is the account breakdown chart, and this gives me a snapshot of all the delinquent taxes on the roll, all tax years, and where they are and how they are collectible. So you'll see the largest percentage is the action pending section at 49%. So these are accounts where we are trying to contact the taxpayer, sending collection letters, doing title work research. If they have a lien holder, if there's a mortgage lien or an individual that holds a lien on the property, we contact that lien holder, give them an opportunity to pay the taxes. Because if we file a delinquent tax suit, they are also a party to the suit, and we foreclose their lien on the property if we get to the courthouse steps. So we're actively trying to reach out, make somebody aware, give them an opportunity to set up a payment agreement, pay the taxes. If the taxpayer has passed, we try to locate their heirs, identify them, notify them. Lots of activities going on in this section. And also notice going through the roll that there are some late delinquencies that have been added to the roll, and I'll talk about them later when I get to the historical collection data. So next section is the suit litigation section at 20%. So when we're unable to get the taxpayer to payment agreement, they default, we can't find any of the heirs, or the taxpayer fails to pay or set up the payment agreement. Sometimes it's necessary for us to file a delinquent suit. That's very effective at getting their attention. And usually those end in a satisfied payment agreement. We very rarely get to the courthouse steps to sell the property, but this is everything in that process from suit just filed to ready for the next tax sale. Next largest section is the deferral section at 18%. So these are taxpayers who are 65 or older or have a disability who have elected to defer the payment of their delinquent taxes, and this is only available on their residence homestead. By law, they can only have one residence homestead at a time. So So they have to first get the homestead exemption, get the over 65 or disability exemption, and then they'll file an affidavit for the deferment. Once that deferment is on the account, they file this with the county appraisal district. Then we may no longer collect on the account. The taxpayer may elect to make payments at any time during that deferment, and the taxes are paid after the deferment expires as well. Next chart we have is the dollar range chart. The purpose of this is just to help me to direct my staff and see where the dollars are owed. For example, 29% of the delinquent roll was in the 1,000, and this is delinquent base tax. It's just the base tax I'm showing you. So 29%, the largest section, is in the $1,000 to the $2,500 range. Many of the accounts with the larger delinquencies are in that tax deferment category or in pending litigation. So note also when I refer to an account or a taxpayer, our proprietary software takes data from the county tax office and it merges together accounts with common ownership. So when I'm making my collection calls, if Bob Smith, I apologize if anybody here shares that name, because just drawing it out of the air, owns 10 different accounts, my software will put all of Mr. Smith's accounts together. So I'm not calling Mr. Smith 10 times. So I'm calling, we're being effective and efficient with our collection efforts. So this is just basically a collection tool to help us direct our staff. Third chart we have is the tax year chart. Doing a great job. And this shows what percentage of delinquent tax is due for each year. So you'll see that the largest percentage, that 39%, is the 2024 tax year. And then after that, the percentages fall. The 2023 tax years, I'm seeing lots of non-standard delinquency dates, which means that the appraisal district has back assessed property, whether it be omitted improvements that they did not catch when they were first put on the ground, and they're back assessing them, or property value that they've added to the roll. So when we get the historical data, I will go into that further. So the segments get smaller and smaller. Those older tax years are going to be predominantly your tax deferments. And now we are to the historical collection data charts. I have tax years 2020. You'll see we're almost 95% collected of what was originally turned over to us to collect. And the tax deferments are also represented in this chart. And if you'll skip to the 2023, I wanted to point out how I know that the appraisal district has added additional value. So you'll see at the very top, what was originally turned over to us was $33,831. The taxes attributable to the additional taxable value that were added between July 1 of 2024, when this was originally turned over to us in that $33,000 range, was $11,020 was added to the roll in between those time periods. And when the additional value is added to the roll, those taxpayers are afforded more time to pay that before it becomes delinquent. So those accounts have non-standard delinquency dates, and the tax code guides us on how long the taxpayer has to pay without penalties or interest or that collection penalty. So that's throwing this chart off. But I'm just doing it for this one tax year, but I wanted to point that out to you. So next up we have the 2024 chart. You'll see we're at almost 65% collected, which is great, of what was turned over to us last July. So we're over halfway through, making our way to 70%. Are there any questions about taxes before I switch to fines and fees? Of course, you can go to our website. It's on the front part of the report, pdfcm.com, if you're interested in keeping up with tax sales that we have throughout the year. On our homepage at the very bottom, you can sign up for an email notification. If that's something that interests you, you'll get an email blast every Friday morning at 6 a.m. So moving on to fines and fees. The last chart we have, fine and fee collections are also no charge to the city. There's a 30% statutory fee that's added. when those accounts are turned over to us. That fee is also passed to the violator. So you'll see up at the top the number of accounts and dollars that have been turned over. And I like to refer to the bottom chart. You'll see 31% of what's been turned over to us has been resolved in payment, and 46 has been resolved by the court. And our main goal in reaching out to these folks and locating them, finding a good address, getting their attention, is to drive them to the court to resolve the issue. So it looks like that's working. About 77% of the accounts have been resolved in either payment or dismissal by the court, or time served, or for whatever reason it was closed by the court. So about 23% of what was turned over to us in outstanding. You can also see addresses, number of addresses we've corrected, the letters we've mailed, phone number changes, phone contacts, and text contacts. Any questions? Well, thank you so much for.
Thank you for
allowing me to do
doing
it.
that.
My pleasure. Y'all have a great evening.
Thank you too. Consent agenda, item number 6, consideration of possible action on city council meeting minutes of May 12, 2026. Number 7, consideration of possible action on an agreement between the City of Montgomery and Tellepsen Builders LP for construction management for the Municipal Complex Project to authorize the city administrator to execute the agreement. Council, will take these singularly or together? What's your question?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Mr. Olson, we approve the consent agenda, seconded by Ms. Fox. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept the consent agenda as presented. Regular agenda, item number 8, discussion on a large flagpole in the Kroger parking lot.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Threw this agenda on there at the last minute before the deadline with an internal staff discussion. That's why there was no real information on it. But I did reach out. Some of you have heard, I think, contacted you about the flagpole. Looks like from what we're finding, we're not responsible for it. But I just wanted to open discussion to find out if council, if there's a desire to maybe ask for ownership or a maintenance agreement to take over the flagpole. So I did make some calls, contacted Kroger flagpole, big outfit out of Houston. They came and took a look, and they're estimating about $5,000 to get it back operational if the winch is not burned up. So they're not going to take an in-depth dive, but they know there's some electrical problems. They know the cable needs to be replaced. So about $5,000. If the winch has to be replaced, then we're looking at maybe over $10,000. Flags for that pole for a high quality 30 by 60 are $3,200 a piece. They're estimating about every 12 months to replace it. So I just wanted to bring out some rough numbers, throw the idea out there and see what, I'm not asking for you to do it or not do it. It's just something to be discussed.
When did the bank notify you that they don't want to take care of it anymore?
They didn't notify me. I think they had reached out to
So yeah, they reached out to
directly.
me. Well, so that flagpole, they had to get it approved, or they partnered with Kroger when the bank went in. And the flagpole, I thought, was in the development agreement, but it wasn't the
It
development.
was a joint agreement
That's what I
between the
thought.
development group and the bank at the time.
Yes.
And then when the bank switched, they kind of created a new agreement. But in there, I could never find anything that says, the city's gonna take care of this. It just didn't happen. It just,
Because it was the bank's responsibility, and that's who always I've contacted whenever it's tattered or
Correct.
whatever.
Yep.
And they would buy 3 or 4 at a time and then put them up. And then I get the call that the motor's burned up, and he didn't apparently put new cables on, that they're an expense, and now he's wanting, because he doesn't want to pay for the new motor. So he's wanting to know who's responsible, or they it's wanting to know who's responsible for this flagpole.
the only thing I could see about maintenance agreements or anything was an early talk when the original agreement was there. But that agreement doesn't even stand anymore because it was when the new bank bought it, there was a whole new agreement in with that.
And that's not an
And
agreement.
it only
That's
talked
their
about,
Yeah, so time out. Our agreement was with the original bank, which is the original,
yes,
right? That
It doesn't matter who buys it after that. That's how they got.
No, they renegotiated between themselves, not with us.
Exactly. So
It's a new agreement between the new bank and the developer.
Right, but that's between them.
That's what I mean. There's nothing that I could find that says the city's responsible for anything.
Has the city ever been responsible? Have they done
No.
anything?
That was in the development agreement.
No, so whenever Simmons first bought it from Spirit of Texas, the rumor was circulating that they didn't want to mess with the flag anymore. I can't remember who the city administrator, well, I believe it was Richard, but I had an internal discussion with Richard, got permission to him to reach out to Simmons to make an offer to at least maintain, to raise lower, and they weren't interested. So even though they said they weren't in the flag business like Spirit of Texas Bank was, they weren't interested in us operating or doing anything to the flagpole for them.
So why wouldn't that develop, like the original development area, why would not go forward?
You don't get to sell your property and get out of the development agreement. That's how.
So, and Chris and them looked at this. Way back when they first started this, there was a whole different design. The monument in the front was different, the whole thing was different. And in that writing, it said that the city would take care of the flags. But it was talking about the flags that were with the monument. They didn't even, the big pole did not exist at that time.
Right.
So, as I tried to follow it, I never did find anything. Well, I found the purchase agreement, I found all the stuff that they bought that big old pole, but never do I see anything about maintenance or anything with the city.
So we didn't have it. It was solely on Spirit of Texas. And when Simmons Bank bought it, they removed the plaque about the story of the Buffalo Soldier that we had a big.
We found it.
Oh, okay. Okay. I had been told, I was like, I didn't see it on there. Okay.
We found that.
So, okay, good. So with that though, when buying the bank and the responsibility of that, wouldn't that transfer?
And it's really on the property of Kroger now.
Yes, but it's always been the property.
Yes. But originally, Wade's Group, I think, was the original developer that made the first agreement. So it wasn't always Kroger, it was just considered Kroger property at some point. So, I mean, there would be some sort of, if you ever wanted to, you know, if nobody wants to take care of it and the city decides to, you know, maybe some sort of easement where that is accessible only by us. And a shared thing that never.
So what we're hearing you say is Simmons does not want to take ownership responsibility, financial responsibility, anything for that plan.
Well, so I'm saying that whenever I originally talked to them when they first bought it, they weren't interested, but then they said they weren't interested in us operating it either. They've been handling it since then until recently.
So now it's a bigger ticket item that they
Exactly.
don't want to pay for, and that's what he told me.
So I just wanted to get the discussion going about it, and then just make the recommendation that if y'all are thinking about possibly taking it over, that we do it in a way where we actually take it over. Because I don't want to be responsible for something that someone else is operating, but we foot the bill or something burns up. I don't want to see us to get into that scenario.
If we don't, are they going to opt out and not maintain it at all, or are they required to keep it for development?
I have not heard.
It's not clear in there. The monument and stuff is very clear with what they did there. That flagpole, not very clear.
That flagpole, when this was originally discussed, that was the gateway to the city.
Yeah.
It was one of 3 of the largest in the state.
And I remember, like, that was distinctly, yes, and that came after they even built, because, anyway, whole point being is, like, we helped them give Kroger, this was the plan, and I don't care if it's Chase Bank, I don't care if it's Simmons Bank. They fired the bank, they fired responsibility.
How do we have responsibility? We don't have property underneath it, right?
We don't right now. That's kind of my point.
That's
Kind of
the
here.
thing, unless the property was deeded to the city, I don't
Exactly.
understand how we actually be
Are
liable.
they interested in giving us the property?
We had the discussion was with y'all first to find out if it was something that y'all were thinking about, which way you wanted to go. What I will say is that it is a staple. It has become a staple. Coming in and seeing. So I'm not opposed to the idea of us taking it. If we do it, we need to do it all the way. Get actual ownership of it or something where we're the only ones operating it, the only ones touching it. So,
I think we would actually honor,
Ownership of the property underneath of it.
yeah.
I think we would actually honor it, because I don't know, I can't tell you how many times I've been called how tattered that flag is. And matter of fact, I think they got one on Temu because the star was upside down.
I mean, don't get me wrong, that tells us we don't care, right? And it's been, when they first came here, Simmons basically said, we don't care about the flag, but we do. And so, he said he ordered a couple of them, but it's been a pain in their rear since day one, which,
He moved to the birthplace of the Texas flag. Pretty sure most people.
well, and they've changed the flags in the front too, those were all Texas flags, so now there's America, but I'm not opposed to, but it defeats the purpose of what?
The development agreement states.
Well, it's no action item, I just brought it for discussion. Now we can talk about it.
So you said the motor's 5,000 and then the flag is 3,200?
Each flag is for a very high quality polyester flag.
Not with the star upside down?
Yeah, not the star. $3,200 each, and they're estimating $5,000. That's if they have to bring a crane out, because that is the height of a pole that can require a crane. They said they do have some guy they said they can bring in that will climb. Sometimes he climbs poles. I don't even want to be a witness to it.
As for the public works, how, let's say, and it was done, would y'all be able, would y'all have capabilities to replace the flag yourself?
Yes. Yeah, it's got an electric motor inside of it. It requires a generator. Plug it up to a generator, which we have portable generators, and it manually goes up and down. We would probably have to put 4 guys on it to do it the right way, respectfully, and not let it touch the ground. But it's something that we can handle. I don't see that being a problem.
Frankly, I think it's money well spent because it makes a statement.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring it. I'd hate to see just a pair of flagpoles. I'm not coming promoting the idea, but just at least get y'all thinking back. I hate to have this flagpole stand.
Even know if the motor is out.
Whenever someone gives them the authorization to actually come and tear into it. So they came and looked at it and gave us an estimate of what they think, but they have to plug up to it and check it out, and they'll know at that point. They said it's highly unlikely that it's actually the motor burn up, but if it is, then it could go to 10,000. So try to give you worst case scenarios here.
And the motor's burned up is because of the operator, so therefore maybe there should be a price split or cost share?
Could it be because of the operator? I guess it's possible, but I mean, it's an up-down button. It's push the button to go up and push the button to go down. It's, yeah.
Let's see if they'd be interested in cost share. I think it's really possible there.
Cost share and then maintain it?
I guess more of the cost share, if they want to pay for half the motor, that'd be great, but if not, cost share in the flat, fine, we maintain it, we'll do everything, because we know we'll do a good job, but it's on Kroger's property, represents them, so they pay for half a flat, and we pay for half a flat.
Carrie, you're staring a hole through me. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with him
The
that
city didn't take it over.
I don't know that we just want to give money without knowing the responsibility and who's doing what on the flag. So, yeah, it can be negotiated. Yeah.
I mean, my thoughts on it are, this is the first big ticket item that we've heard of that's happened to flagpoles. So are we looking at $3,200 a year for a new flag to go up? I mean, is that?
Get rid of the home place up?
That's what I'm saying. To me, it's not a bad idea. It's better than a pair of flagpoles.
Yes.
That's not maintained.
Yeah, honestly, if it gets to a fight, I would rather they just either give us either deed the land to us and we'll take the thing over, or some kind of an easement and we'll take it over.
Yeah, I agree. That's something we can get with the engineers on and get with legal on, what we could do, but sounds like y'all are okay to that concept. I think we could start checking into that and see what we think.
I want to see more figures. I want to know if the motor is out or not. Because that's a $10,000 key there, you said.
Yeah. They're telling me worst case, it could be $10.
Budget line item is something else. I mean, I used to still sold on taking it over.
We definitely don't have a flagpole specific line item, but we do have a parks, we have a parks maintenance line item that it could come out of until, if we were gonna create a new one for next year or whatever. But we do have a general part, all of our other flags come out of the parks maintenance because they're all typically in the park.
I think you buy two flags that come kind of just in case.
We always have one on backup, yeah. All of our flags, we have at least one on standby so the guys can change it and on those sides.
Okay. All right,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Number 9, discussion on the crossing at Montgomery, development number 2403, the project.
Can I go ahead and hand these out? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight in front of y'all for discussion only is an update on the crossing at Montgomery Development. Developer is handing out kind of an updates packet as far as where the development stands. Just to paint a picture of the overall development. So back in 2024, we completed a feasibility study that looked at 235 lot, 86 acre development just north of the railroad tracks against Redbird Meadows, down known as Briarley. We prepared the feasibility study, presented it to the council, presented it to E&Z, and then moved forward with the development agreement. Development agreement outlining all the requirements for the development that needed to be done. So with that included connection to public water on either side of the development, Old Dobbin and Old Plantersville, and then the construction of a new lift station within the development, and then off-site improvements for the force main and gravity along 105. The development agreement outlined all of that. And upon preparation of client memo for WJ to complete the off-site utilities, as is typical for development agreements within the city engineer will complete the facilities. Developer expressed concern about the cost associated with those said facilities. And so development went on pause for a year and a half or so, and then more recently, the developer came back asking that we amend the development agreement to include that the developer's engineer complete the lift station, and then the WJ complete the off-site force main and sanitary sewer extension for the development. This is not an unusual request. Briarley has done the same. They constructed their own on-site lift station, and WJ has completed the off-site sanitary sewer extensions to serve those lift stations. So in front of y'all again is the executed development agreement, which was executed back in October of 2024. And then again, in front of y'all with the packet as well is the updates for the development. I'll let the developer speak to kind of overall updates. But again, for discussion item tonight is the City Council's preference on any additional amendments to the development agreement for consideration. And once we get direction from City Council and staff, we'll work with city staff, the attorney, and the developer to make those certain amendments after an additional escrow deposit is made to fund the time spent on those efforts.
Well, again, it's been about 15 months or 16 months, but we went through a workshop and came to City Council 4 or 5 times to kind of, as I said, got all the way through the development agreement. And then as we went through the process and went through City Council and did the annexation of one of the tracks and approval of city utilities and all of the other elements related to the development agreement, we got in a cost estimate on our engineering for our construction and for the city's construction, and that came in a little bit higher than we expected, 2 or 3 million, 3 million plus more than we, based on the lot contracts that we had with the builders then, those figures just wouldn't work. So we had to take a step back, kind of get our pencil out and re-pencil things and looked at different alternatives like larger lots and sanitary sewer connections and things like that. And just the configuration of the tract didn't give us enough of that 3/4 acre lot. So it all kind of came back to the same lots that we had, the same lot size and count that we had talked about through the development agreement process back in 2024. So the land plan is the same that we took through in those prior city council meetings, and the development agreement, 235 lots, 65 by 120 and 130. So it's all pretty much the same. I know that when we got to the development agreement, the task to design the lift station and the city's offsite improvements were on the city's engineer. I think previously we talked about the developer designing the lift station as our responsibility, but since it's in kind of memorialized in the development agreement, we need to look at whether that's something that we could do. And simply, we're just trying to propose that because that would be a time saver that would kind of reduce our cost and our time. It would be, for the city, it would be 2 separate projects, kind of a lift station, and then a pipe bursting on 105. And if we can break it up into a couple smaller projects and have our engineer do that, we think it'll save us, 6 months or 6 to 9 months. And that would be helpful because we've got lots to deliver to the builder, in about a year at this time. So, and then just also, the method would be ability where we would, our engineer would have to pay those costs as we go. And then that would just give us 6 months to kind of make a payment, $200,000 or $300,000 each month, versus having one lump sum due at the beginning, which we would be paying interest on for a year and a half. So it's just trying to be creative and come up with some solutions to get us over the goal line, for the development that we've talked about in prior sessions.
So when development agreements expire, do you go back and redo the development, or do you make amendments? How does that typically work? Because this one is expired, right?
No.
No? Okay.
They never have.
I ask you, okay.
So that's one thing we've been talking about with city staff and legal as well, kind of the term limit on development agreements, and understanding that this one has paused for about 2 years at this point. We're wanting to bring this back to y'all before any action is taken on amending it to say, okay, if this is what was presented previously 2 years ago, a lot of things have changed in those 2 years. Are there any other considerations that city council staff want to make for the development agreement? As far as, termination of development agreements, we started writing in our current development agreements, if there's any action or non-action, rather, of developers either not reaching out via email, calls, kind of giving the timeline on, hey, we're putting on pause to secure funding, X, Y, Z, we would have grounds to terminate the development agreement and renegotiate the terms and conditions for any future proposal of said development.
And we've been trying to get in for like 6 months.
Correct.
It's November, October last year. So we've been trying to give y'all updates, through that period of time, and that's expenses outstanding. So we had to bring that all up to date in order that we could kick off again.
So the only change to the development agreement is just the engineering of
Yes, sir. And then it's been suggested that, we've got a time within our contract to deliver lots, and we're going to be pressing that forward on that. There may be a request at some point in the future to do a pump and haul agreement like other developers have done. So the suggestion was to kind of add that in this time. We don't know if we'll need to come back and make that request. If we continue on our timeline, we may make it. But that would keep us from having to come back and bring this in for a go again.
Something that wasn't on your development agreement that was on Briarley's development agreement, and I was hoping to get the opportunity to get that, so if we're going to amend, let's do that now. That didn't allow you, or didn't ask you to redo the roads. Briarley, this road has been beat up from one end to the other. Briarley is repairing it, and Commissioner Walker is helping with improvements. As soon as that happens, then you're going to be coming in with trucks, and then we've got this pretty road now that's going to be torn up. So I would like to ask that we amend this, that you are responsible as the developer to put the roads back into the pristine.
When we, start to get in there. So there are a couple ways we can do that. So Jonathan suggested we do some drone footage or something, so we could take some photos, so we can kind of measure, when not that you're going to hand it over to us, but when we start, working there. So that's one better than today. well, sure. But if the county already approves it, so that's what I
couldn't know exactly, just because we hadn't had discussions yet of when the road project would start in relation to this project. But there's also another road that we can have construction, attempt to have construction traffic come off of the east side of the old Plantersville. So I think there's some conversations that we can have, so try to play with that, understanding your concern and how do we address the concern. But we just need to kind of know what the timelines are, so we can kind of figure out what the best strategy of that is. But we're just, again, not knowing the details of everything, we're just kind of brainstorming what this is.
Quick aside on that, that every development, every construction project, we take pre-construction photos of all adjacent city facilities. If there are any damages to there, we'll reach out to the developer, contractor, say, hey, this wasn't what it was before y'all got here, make it right. We've done that with Briarley. On Old Plantersville, potholes have been coming up, and that's kind of pushed on the need for improvements on Old Plantersville and Old Dobbins. And so this wouldn't be any different, but it can be, to your point, written into the development agreement that they have explicit access to one for construction and not use the other for access. That can be written in this one.
So we certainly want to have it in the standards, you know, that the county would approve it to. And then the other option to come off of that and then just not have that extra traffic there. So.
Still monitor, if we use that road, we would still monitor it, just like Zach said.
If there is, because bars are the same thing, and then there's trucks. So is that a fine, or we flat your tires, or what happens?
If it's in a legal document, you can hold it to it.
And I think it's for protection of all parties, because if, we don't want, our construction traffic to hurt the road. And so if we have documentation that it did, then we know, hey, contractor, this is y'all's fault, y'all need to correct this.
It's just been in my crawl that we do this on other developments, and this didn't happen on this one, and I didn't know why.
Sure.
So I'm thinking,
We're going to make every effort to appeal, to future residents, and so, the appearance and aesthetics and all would be very important.
I just don't want that, I don't want the road repair to be on the taxpayer.
Exactly.
Right. When we live across town. Okay.
So this was really a chance to kind of reintroduce where we are, and I think Zachary's intent was to come back next time and, or
so
talk about
the next steps, as far as once we get comments from staff, legal counsel, and mayor, rope those in with the developer. We'll request an additional escrow deposit for the amendment and any associated fees for completing that project. The project being off-site utilities and the review and construction inspection of their section 1. That will be coming before y'all again for council approval of the project, and then separate deposit for the local escrow to fund their plan review, developer coordination, construction inspection, etc. That will be completed by the city engineer. And so having all y'all's comments compiled, we'll have that as a future agenda item in a future council meeting, working with staff, legal, to make sure that everything is copacetic with all parties, and we'll bring that back before y'all for execution, and then move forward with the development process.
Don't you think that didn't we discuss having some language in there about bid and how you're going to proceed with
the funding and reimbursement?
Yeah, I think it should be part of it.
No, we didn't talk about it on our kind of group call. The bid has already kind of gone through the process for the development agreement, and then March of 2025 was approved, so.
It's approved, it's created.
Right.
The issue is how you're going to function it.
So I think what
it's up to the city, to.
That's right. I think what we had kind of in theory, we had talked about with, prior teams, and we went through this as developed with the city of Monroe, and so they would have people come in and have a bid consultant. They get this method, we have a bid consultant with Coast Roads, and they help us with the preparation of the document with the city's council. And then kind of the theory was at some point the city of Montgomery would hire a bid consultant at our expense, at the city's expense, but there would be a bid consultant coming out of that fee. And so we've got a few names that we could recommend, based on, who worked often with the city of Conroe or city of Tomball, other cities within this county. So, and then they would be representative for the city, and that, again, that's at the expense of the developer, for the bid. And so typically that would be, once we go through the construction, we'll present all of our costs, into an auditor, a CPA firm. They'll audit that, they'll present that to the city. The city will either accept that audit and accept those as expenses, and then the bid consultant will come in with a service SAP, a service plan every year with that. So that's kind of the method, other cities in that area.
We can build in, Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong, certain language for PID, review of audit and completion and acceptance of audit prior to movement on a future section of the development. That way we're confirming that the existing section can support the infrastructure for the future section.
And that's already in chapter 372 of the local government code. So, yeah.
So when are y'all going to have the workshop?
I didn't know about a workshop, but I saw that on the agenda.
She brought it up, but I would prefer to have a workshop.
It says that they would be.
Workshops.
You know, we thought we'd already had one in 2024. We've had 2 prior workshops, so.
I would like to have one.
Before execution of any development. Yes, ma'am, for sure.
So we're clear, would it be good to do a drafted development agreement kind of based on this conversation for that workshop?
Of course, I think you told me on the phone, there's new builders review.
In the package, it's Meritage Homes in Long Lake, and so over the course of the year that we've been working, their price values have increased. So I think when we first started talking to y'all 12 to 18 months ago, we were looking at the 400s. Now the builders are anticipating building, in the upper 400s and low 500s. And I think if we sell lots in a year, maybe it'll be 500 to 550 at this rate. So that's increase the value, to the community and to the tax base. So I know that there was always a goal to have that mid-range and higher range housing within the core of the city of Montgomery.
Is there a building locally?
Yes, ma'am. So Meritage is a national builder. They're the 5 out of the top 100. They're the number 5 builder in the country. And then I've got in the presentation a couple of places where they're building. And then also Long Lake is based in Houston, and they're a private builder. And they've been through both builders' homes in several communities around the city. We're on the Cypress, kind of northwest part of Houston. This is the closest, I think. And then there's some in Conroe. We've got some inventory in Conroe.
They have some economy.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, but the Meritage Home, those are, not the same product they'll have here. They're in the 300s, so, and I think I just looked into my map. I think it's Pine Lake subdivision.
On Lake Line Road. So on Lake Line Road, west of 45, on the north side of Conroe, they've got, it's probably one of the smaller products, probably Conroe minimum like 45, 50 foot long. Pine Lake? No.
I thought that was like off of 105.
Montgomery Oaks. Is that Montgomery? Let me look at it.
So Pine Lake Oaks
it's
is
south
off
of
of 105, kind of across from Starbucks and all that, all the restaurants there. And so those are a little bit lesser in value than what they plan to build here. So.
That's right, the closest one on 105.
And then I think One Lake and Meritage have some in Conroe off of 45 on the east side.
Montgomery Oaks is that subdivision, the one on Lake Line.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Number 10 on your agenda, consideration of possible action on the acceptance of the engineer's recommendation to award to complete the construction services
related to the Town Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant Demolition Project.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So in front of you as a hard copy is a handout of the WGA memo outlining kind of the results and summary of the bids that were received for the demolition of South Creek Wastewater. So again, just kind of paint the picture. This project has already been funded for with the 2026 CO funds. We are completing, the design was completed by half engineers who's completing the design. The demolition, they proposed the plans, and then phase 1 of the plant, which will be the new construction of your .3 NGD plant. They were previously quoting us, if you'll see on the second page or I guess third page of that packet, $1 million for the demolition of the existing plant. That was completed by half. We've included it in our CO summary just to outline what we are expecting costs to come in at for the demolition phase 1 and then the future water plant number 4. We received bids last Wednesday. A total of 11 bids were received, ranging from $229 all the way up to $636. Upon completion and verification of bid form and unit prices, you will see on that last page kind of a summary of where everything stands as far as cost for the project. And so I'm just walking through all of that for you. The apparent low bid at the time of the bid opening was ERC. We believe that they had a low bid, or they quoted us with a low bid of $229,000. Upon verification of their unit prices and bid documentation, that total base bid came up to $24 million and 25 calendar days for substantial completion. This is an error on their unit pricing, so it was irregular, and we couldn't come off of that because unit prices for bid form, our bid packages govern what is cost. So if they had a calculation in terms of their final bottom dollar, so essentially, as long as the unit prices are fine and the bottom dollar is good or in error, we can update that bottom dollar. If the unit prices are off, we have to update the final bid package based off of the unit cost. So that's why you see that huge discrepancy on their first bid. The next bid came from RNBI companies with a total base bid of $283,000. And at the time of the bid opening, they did not complete the proposed calendar days for their project, as well as completion of their 1295 form, which essentially outlines conflict of interest, excuse me. They have since provided their calendar days for you, which is outlined in that memo, bless you. And the 1295 form can be requested and executed prior to any execution of contracts with the city and the contractor. So just want to make that caveat. And then the next low bid came from Rebel Contractors in the amount of $386,000 and 45 calendar days. This was the first complete bid package. There were some discrepancies in their total bottom dollar, but the unit prices were all the same, and so you'll see that reflected in the red highlight on that bid summary with $386,000. Excuse me. We've contacted references for both those two low bids. We have no issues with either. It should be noted that RNDI is based out of Willis, and Rebel Contractors is based out of Rockwall, with offices in the Houston area.
So, concerned with the discrepancy in amounts?
So the discrepancy, we'd like to see that. You know, in a perfect world, we receive a lot of bids with a good range between low and high. We did anticipate that the bids would come in lower than what was projected for the demolition, and that's why we broke it out from phase one.
If you change orders, they can get up to
anything over, I believe, 20% of the original, 25% of the original contract amount would have to be rebid. And so in the event that they do come in higher, we would have to rebid the project. But there are contingencies within that. One of the biggest ones that we were noticing would be the dewatering and sludge removal of the plant. So we had that built into their contract as an allowance. We reached out to sub-consultants for that, worked with Public Works and Hayes on supplying some of those people, and we had outline costs that would not be exceeded because we got that proposal in hand. So everything else is all based off of quantities that are out on site, and so their contracts and their unit prices are being held against that.
So two reasons that we broke this out separate from the whole project. One was time, two was cost, because there's a lot more people that can break stuff than build stuff. So, you know, getting the demo contractors, we have a whole lot more bidders than a plant contractor that is usually subbing this out and adding the market to it. So they are low, which is good. We've checked references because again, these aren't our normal contractors who bid on water, sewer, drainage, paving projects, and the references came back good. So ultimately, you know, what Zach is saying is that ERC is out because we have to base it off of their unit price, because that's their written amount that is governed. RNDI, though they didn't provide days or the 1295, it's an irregularity, their price still holds. So they provided those days after, and the 1295 is required before you execute a contract. So it's just an irregular bid, but you're allowed to accept an irregular bid. And the reason we put it out Rebel is that's the first one that came back that did the 1295, the days and everything else, but it's $100,000 more. So, and there's no qualifications or anything that says Rebel's going to do substantially better than RNDI based on what I'm saying.
What if RNDI takes 90 days?
Is there recourse on that? Do they pay us? I mean, well, because they didn't state any days, so then we have to have a
So it'll still be in their contract. So their contract will still have the days that they provided. It's just, it was blank on what they submitted, but what they told us after was the 40 days, and that is the substantial completion days that are in the contract. So the contractor doesn't carry liquidated damages, but it does have just standard a damage clause. So by delays of the project, delays of delays of the project causing development delays, whatever it is, that would be something the city could claim damages against.
Is that something that's in the contract if they go over those days?
Yes.
Is that amount or is it a charge?
No, so we typically just do it's a blanket damages clause, which are to be calculated by the owner. And so we have to provide backup. So it says, if we estimated 40 days for them to complete it, and here's the cost of testing and inspection for having those 40 days, and it takes them 90 days to your point, we would say, okay, here's the additional cost the city incurred due to your delay. And that is something that's, the damages and incentives, we try to get a little bit away from that because unless you have incentives to go with the damages, it's harder to fight that way.
But we also were under construction for how much longer when we put the bridge? I mean, that was.
And that one did have damages in it.
We got paid.
So I just have a quick question, Chris, on your original.
Yes, sir.
Quote, I guess you would call it. How did we come off 76%?
So those, I think one.
I mean, I'm thrilled to death about it, obviously.
Yeah,
but that's not this, man.
This is
You're going in the wrong direction.
This is way off. So what we can surmise is path provider has their cost estimate breakout of all the expenses. They provided a full 10-page packet of kind of backup for their cost. One thing I think that's driving it doesn't address the full 70-something%, is having it broken out with contractors. Because JTR, for example, that's on the bid form, they are a plant contractor. Providence Water Group is as well, and those are your higher prices that you see.
So they built the demo into the plant, is what you're saying?
Well, yes, so the cost estimate took the totality of the plant project, and they had a lot of contingencies in that estimate. So hopefully, that's the same thing we see on the wastewater plant as well, and we have funds available.
So I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
76% is a big difference.
There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions in reference checking, just to make sure that, one, we're not going to end up with the problem and save 76% and end up spending another 50%. So it was concerning, but so far reference checkout and they're local.
And one more note to Chris's point, the cost estimate that HAP provided in their cost estimate, they up prices on bonding, maintenance, insurance bonds, as well as built in additional profit into each line item for the project. And so taking that into account, that does add some of the profit or delta that we're seeing in this bid amount.
So are there any contingencies for these contractors to adjust their fees on something they find that they didn't expect?
That will be outlined in the change order, and again, if the change order amounts to 25% of what was awarded, so in the example, if we went with RNDI, if their change order ultimately came above 40,000, we would have to rebid the project.
You said that company's from Willis?
Yes, ma'am. RNDI is from Willis, and
You know how long they've been in business?
I do not know that one. I'll follow up for that. I tried to get you with the location.
I know, you did.
But it is like you said, Chris, it's a lot easier to break things than it is to build things. So
Yeah.
hopefully it goes off.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
So the action here is,
Accept the engineer's recommendation.
Action here is to select a contractor and then authorize us along with city staff to execute, review contracts with that contractor.
Yeah, is it something, do you guys have recommendations, or you've worked with before, or anything like that?
So we haven't worked with either of these. Again, we reviewed references. The references are all local with similar scopes of work: demolition of wastewater treatment plants, water plants, and we have no issues with what they recommended as far as recommendations go. And reach out to those clients as well for confirmation as to the quality of work those do.
So I'd like to make a motion to accept the engineer's recommendation and award the demolition project of the municipal treatment plant to RMDI companies.
Second. Motion by Mr. Olson, second by Ms. Langley, that we accept the engineer's recommendation, award to demoing the project, the wastewater treatment project, and awarded to RMDI. This motion is debatable and removable. Probably to be good for further discussion. All those in favor of accepting the engineer's recommendation to award RMDI the demolition project for the wastewater treatment plant, say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries and will award RMDI for the wastewater treatment plant. Consideration of possible action on the acceptance of water plant number 3 booster pump addition.
Good evening again. So this project is the water plant number 3 booster pump addition. As a reminder, this is being funded with ARPA funds that the city has in their accounts. Again, kind of the scope of work with this project is the addition of a 4th booster pump on water plant number 3, 900 GPM booster pump. This takes the city's paper capacity from 550,000 gallons per day to 730,000 gallons per day. And so, in addition with water plant number 4 that's currently in design and we're expecting to bid later this summer, the city is in capacity for all the active developments and feasibility or development agreement process that we have currently slated for the city. And so
say that one more time, real slow.
So with this project as well as water plant number 4, the city has capacity for service of all existing developments and future developments that are currently in feasibility.
Thank you.
Again, this just makes the project into the warranty period. Any deficiencies noted with the booster pump during that 1-year warranty would be identified, and the contractor that was selected would have to come out and make those repairs. So any deficiencies would be noted by Public Works and/or Hayes. We'll call the contractor to come out and fix it, and they would do that. In this agenda packet, you'll see that one of these items was not checked. This was the hydro mulch establishing vegetation for the plant. This has since been completed. This was done on Tuesday of last week, but due to the time of the agenda having to be posted, we couldn't include that in the packet. But as of today, this has been completed.
What's the status on punch list number 4?
That has been completed as of last Tuesday.
I can make a motion to accept item number 11 as presented.
Motion by Mr. Olson, that we accept item number 11 as presented. Seconded by Mr. Glazier. This motion is debatable and removable. House to vote. It's open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting item number 11 as presented, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. We will accept item number 11 as presented. Number 12, consideration of possible action regarding authorizing the city engineer to amend the previously completed feasibility study report for Montgomery Retail and SR105 LLC, the project.
Good evening again. So I'd like to direct y'all's attention to page 174 of y'all's packet. This outlines kind of the proposed project area. And so you'll see on that exhibit the previously outlined area of the original 32 acres that was considered with the HEB development. If you remember, as a part of the development, they were responsible for the mass breaking detention for the entire 32-acre site, half of it being for HEB, the other half being for the SR105. The SR105 group was responsible for the lot on the hard corner, which is going in as a Wells Fargo, and then the other adjacent 16 acres or so is to be determined as commercial development. They recently are, or as of today, considering purchasing the adjacent KOA property. This is an additional 50 acres of land that is currently partially within city limits, partially within Stanley Lake's Mud. So there's a lot of coordination and ongoing conversations that are going on with that development. And as far as how it will receive service, this action tonight is authorizing us to complete a feasibility to kind of outline all of those requirements. Because of the proximity to Stanley Lake Mud, on that plat, on that survey and project vicinity area, you'll see adjacent wastewater treatment plant, lift station that are all kind of within realms of service areas for that lift station and development. And so looking at all of those, any potential need for interconnect with Stanley Lake Muds could be entered into or considered with this development. And so outlining all of that in a new feasibility study that will be completed by WGA.
Zach, there's two, on the map, there's two different colors to denote both developments. Same guys buying potentially. Will that become one development, all one piece, or is it going to stay separate?
As we understand it, it would be combined into one development. What they're going through now, as the last conversation that we've had with them, is determining how drainage would work. And so because there's already existing drainage on that KOA property, they're seeing how they could possibly redo the drainage on the HEB and SR 105 original 32 acres. But again, that kind of is going to be outlined as far as the requirements of that within the feasibility study. But as of today, they're considering it as one development.
And do we know where the city limits of line is in that gateway property?
So if you're looking at the exhibit, it may be hard to tell, there is a kind of black border that outlines just adjacent to the Kinrock property. That is where the city limits lies. Yeah, it's a very small sliver that's within.
The lights up to the traffic light.
Yeah, very slim sliver that's within the city limits. So there would be annexation, de-annexation from Conroe, as well as annexation to the city.
Oh, the rest of it?
Correct.
And that is required for annexation?
As we understand today, yes, sir. Annexation within the city, or de-annexation from Conroe and then annexation to the city.
Okay.
And we'll outline.
It's all part of the feasibility.
Correct. Outlining that process that would be required for the developer. Yes, sir.
I don't understand how we can give them a feasibility study on the new property and we don't know what they're going to do with it yet.
So it's proposed as commercial. Of the 50 acres, as of today, they're proposing development of approximately 27 acres of that, all frontage along 105. As a part of the feasibility study, we'll request actual site layout of what they're proposing. But from conversations that we've had, it's all large box development. So your larger storefronts, academies, Lowe's, etc., that would be on that block.
So their proposal is to do commercial development along 105.
Correct.
Okay.
But they're looking at purchasing the entire property with potential plans of developing the rest of the 50 acres at a later time, which we'll outline as well in the event that they want to do that.
That back portion is possibly multifamily.
It's already in the back, in the south side.
The conversations that I've heard have been that they've looked at it, but right now they're only considering the commercial along the front of 105.
But would the feasibility study include the annexation of that whole red area? That
whole red area, yes, with the development of just the 105 portion.
Yeah.
We'll outline requirements on if they plan on coming back in the future for any future development that's not outlined or accounted for within this study. That would have to happen through another feasibility study.
So then all of the trailers that are back there, or RV spots, whatever, are they gonna allow them to continue to live there until they figure out, since they're gonna do the retail on the 105, was that still gonna be in play?
That has not been conveyed. I would imagine that it would get rid of everything, but again, we can confirm that with the feasibility.
Because I believe somebody that lives there contacted me and said that they were told that this developer buys it, that they still have like a year or two left on their contract.
Not,
2 years, I think.
can't speak to the agreements with that.
I just was curious, if we are inheriting them into our,
correct.
yes,
Yeah,
limits as well.
we'll outline that as
And to
well
provide services.
to all of them. Yeah.
Okay, so we're just approving just to continue the feasibility study?
Yes. There's no approval or commitment to any usage capacity within y'all city water or wastewater. This is just outlining the steps that would be required for them to continue with this development.
I make a motion
motion to approve the consideration of possible action regarding authorizing engineering to amend previously completed feasibility study.
Mr. Glazer has made a motion to authorize the city engineer to amend the previously completed feasibility study for Montgomery Retail SR 105 LLC.
Seconded by Ms. Langley. All those in favor of accepting and authorizing the city engineer to amend the previously completed feasibility study report for Montgomery Retail SR 105 LLC, say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries. And we will authorize the city engineer to amend the previously completed feasibility study for Montgomery Retail SR 105. 13, consideration and possible action on the preliminary plat for BCS Capital Development, development number 2415.
Good evening again. So in front of y'all tonight is the preliminary plat for the BCS development that's going on between CV Stewart, Buffalo Springs, and 105. 38-acre development that is consisting of commercial and multifamily. In front of y'all tonight is the preliminary plat. This preliminary plat was reviewed and approved by P&Z at their May commissions meeting. And so now in front of y'all is just concurrence with that approval and making a recommendation for y'all selves. This development would be subject to impact fees at the time of final platting. That summary that's outlined in the memo outlines what those impact fees would be. As it stands today, commercial with 6 pads with 2-inch meters, 1 large commercial pad with a 3-inch meter, and then a future multifamily with a 6-inch meter, for a total $461,870 for water impact fees and $358,417 for wastewater impact fees. At this time, the development is not aware of the multifamily project that's going on right now. They don't have a current buyer or developer of that land. So as you'll see on the preliminary plat, that northern reserve is unrestricted. They would have to come back to get that replatted as a multifamily tract. So you would see that at a future time for a separate preliminary plat and a separate final plat. Yes, ma'am. That was a comment on our preliminary review. Then it's supported by y'all's ordinance that any unrestricted reserve has to come back for replatting once it's been defined as to what that reserve will function as.
Never change the zone.
No.
It's still zone multifamily. There's no impact.
But there's not going to be multifamily there, so then.
There, as of what we've been discussing, there are still plans for multifamily. It's just there's not a buyer or developer to do that multifamily portion. The previous buyer or developer backed out of the deal, and so they're looking for a new one.
Any chance we can change it to a hospital?
It's unrestricted.
And again, as a reminder, y'all would have an opportunity to review and approve the final plat once it's ready for review.
It's just preliminary, and I'll make a motion to approve the possible action on the preliminary plat for BCS.
Motion by Mr. Glazer that we approve the preliminary plat for BCS Capital Development, and second by Ms. Fox. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. It's open for discussion.
I have one question. I know they were here about a month ago, and there was trouble with the development agreement. Has that since been?
Yes, it was resolved, and they're not asking for a payment plan. They're not asking for a payment plan. In short.
Hold on.
That's all I had.
Okay. All those in favor of accepting the preliminary plat for BCS Capital Development number 2415, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept the preliminary plat for BCS Capital Development number 2415. Number 14, consideration of possible action on the preliminary plat for Briarley, formerly known as Redbird Meadows, Pond A2, development number 2006.
Good evening again. So on this one, I'd like to direct y'all's attention to page 191 of y'all's package. This will outline the overall land plan of development. This reserve for Pond A2 is the section of ponds. There are 3 ponds just east of the jog in from the northern portion of the development, excuse me. This preliminary plat is just for the recordation of that, so they can continue on with their development. There are no impact fees associated with it because there's no impact to city infrastructure related to water or wastewater. So it's just approval of the preliminary plat. And again, you have an opportunity to review and approve the final plat once it's ready for.
Accept agenda item number 14 as presented.
Motion by Mr. Johnson that we accept item number 14 as presented. Second by Mr. Olson. All those in favor of item number 14 as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we'll accept item 14 as presented. Number 15 on your agenda, consideration of possible action on the preliminary plat for Briarley, formerly known as Redbird Meadows, Section 7, 2006.
Evening again. So on this one, I would like to direct y'all's attention to page 201 of y'all's packet. Again, outlines the same land plan. Section 7 is located on the hard corner of Old Dobbin Plantersville and Old Plantersville Road. This preliminary plat would be subject to impact fees in the amount of $207,000, $108,000. Again, one of the caveats that I'd like to make with this one is, as approved by you at the May 12th council meeting on the tree assessment requirement for all future plats of development, this one was approved, and so now we're seeing preliminary plat. Planning and zoning, took action on this at their May planning and zoning meeting, contingent upon y'all's approval of the tree assessment, which was approved at your May 12th council meeting. So now that all that has been done, we are ready to approve or take action on approving the preliminary plat for Section 7.
Make a motion, we accept agenda item number 15 as presented.
Motion by Mr. Johnson, we accept item 15 as presented.
Second.
Second by Mr. Glazier. All those in favor of accepting item number 15 as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, motion carries. We'll accept number 15 as presented. Number 16, consideration of possible action on preliminary plat for Briarley, formerly known as Redbird Meadows, Section 8, Development 2006.
Good evening again. More or less the same. If you can turn to page 211 of y'all's packet, you'll see another land plan. This is for Section 8. Section 8 is the sections just east of those Pond A2 reserves, the portion in red and yellow, kind of in the middle of that land plan. This, again, plat would be subject to impact fees totaling $263,592 for the water and wastewater. And one thing to note on both Section 7 and Section 8 and all future sections is that Redbird Meadows and Briarley, the same developer, are getting an impact fee credit for the water line. The water line is now complete, and we are doing an audit of making sure that credit has been used up. So any future sections, Section 8, Section 9, or any future would be subject to impact fees. We'll get that dollar amount for you and pick that up once we have the final plats ready for y'all's approval. Review and approval, excuse me.
Real quick, I know we did some variances on our lot sizes. Did we drop below 60 foot?
I'm sorry?
We did not go 60, we didn't go below 60 foot.
No, not below.
No,
So it's
we're
60s. 60s is the minimum.
So there's a whole bunch of lots in here that are.
A reminder on how lot sizes are measured is from the building line back. And so on those.
But the building line is from lengthwise. And if we take the building line, we're talking about the building lines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's the measurement you're talking about is on the street.
Yes, sir.
We gave a 7-foot measurement, 7.5 foot.
On the sidewalks, yes. So essentially all adjacent lots can only have one totaling that 15 feet, 7.5 for each lot.
And then cut them close, didn't they?
And they are running percentages. On all of those, so we have a running total of how many lots have that 7.5 foot setback, side yard setback, and they're not above their threshold as far as the entire development.
Zach, I have a question. If you go down
Cemetery Wilmot, behind Briarley, if you take, it takes that dog leg right.
Yes, ma'am.
There is, it's behind the detention pond. It's low. With all those houses coming in, is that gonna landlock those people that are beyond that low spot? Am I true?
No, so we've reviewed, at this point, 3 separate DIAs for the development of Briarley. And so all of their calculations are proving that there is no adverse impact to the downstream lots that are outside the development. And again, if anything does change on that, we would have to review and approve anything. And so they're currently going through changes for their amenity ponds. They are currently proposed as dry bottom. They're now proposing them to be amenity. And so they're going through TCQ analysis on dam safety. All of this will be re-reviewed by us and approved thereafter.
So all of this development will be caught into that water basin that's there?
Yes, ma'am. And it shows based on their calculations that it does have capacity with no adverse impacts to downstream development.
Is that a 500-year flood, 1,000-year flood? Like what is used?
500 and 100-year. That's what we base our calculations on. And it's all standard TCQ Montgomery County requirements for that.
Okay.
Do we have any more contingencies in Briarley that are gonna require us to give them impact fee credits?
No, it's just the old Preliminary water line, and that one was constructed back in '24. Warranty ended earlier this year, so we're ready to reconcile those costs and make sure that we're capturing all impact fees moving forward.
Make a motion to accept agenda item number 16 as presented.
Motion from Mr. Johnson, that we accept item number 16 as presented.
Thank you all.
Seconded by Mr. Glazier.
This motion is debatable, amendable, class 20 vote, open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting item number 16 as presented, say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. We will accept item 16 as presented. Closing agenda, council inquiry.
Shall we talk about July 4th? What are the plans? Just, we need to get out ahead of it.
Or move away. It's America's 250th birthday. And
so you want to know the activities and everything that's going on?
well, so we're typically used to having a parade that the chamber, and the chamber is no longer providing the parade services, and we just found out. So instead, we're throwing a big birthday party bash in downtown, right?
Yes.
Just want to get it on everybody's mind.
We're going to bring in a band, we're going to have some individual events, watermelon eating contests, a lot of fun things. It'll be from 9 to 12, that way people, you know, everybody does family stuff on 4th of July, that way they can come out, enjoy that in the morning, and then go play at the lake or watch fireworks or whatever we're going to do. We'll try to make it kind of a neat, you know, little community event, and then, you know, going forward, we'll relook at the parade, or, you know, the golf cart parade is kind of what everybody wanted to do, so we'll look at that again. Yes, the Jeeps asked, though, they were interested.
Always.
They're nice, but they're lots.
Yeah, good luck.
Lee Creek baseball and softball going to state, both of them, just FYI, starts on Thursday. Anything?
The ladies is in Austin, and the guys start preparing the college station.
Next up, item 18, items to consider for placement on future agendas.
I have a question. Ruby, how are we coming along on that website? I hate.
Still have a little bit.
Okay, anything else? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Langley, seconded by Mr. Olson. All those in favor of adjourn, say aye.
It is 7:36 to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Oh, you're talking about, I thought you meant the road. Okay, no, I can believe
Just
that.
you.
Yeah, I can believe that.
It's almost a year.
Okay.
Hey, you know